with Annabelle Hudson.
Hello and welcome. The 100-acre site in the centre of Dubbo has sat idle for years, but the development of the former RAAF depot stores is finally starting to take shape. It's been a military storage base during the Second World War, a place for people to camp during the Great Depression, and even hosted a rock concert. But the latest reincarnation will see it turned into a massive tourism, business and residential hub.
An Instagram-worthy entrance. After decades in the military and storage industry, the old RAAF site is being transformed.
It's very exciting. We've owned the site for 10 years and to be able to finally see some product on ground, it's a real milestone for the project.
I'm actually really excited about this. This is going to insulate our economy going into the recession of this year. To have all this building work going on in this hard year is going to be fantastic for Dubbo.
Parts of the site will be dedicated to food and shops, even tourism. There'll also be residential space and, of course, business. Bunnings has put in a development application for a massive warehouse and 500-space car park.
And with all the challenges of 2020 Dubbo's in a really strong position, and we're seeing very strong market demand for business relocation and business growth.
Now, I'm privy to some of the businesses that have been proposed here and things that are coming up in the future. And look, I tell you what, they're fantastic. There are businesses that Dubbo hasn't seen before. It's going to attract more people to our region.
An internal network of roads is already being built, along with several new roundabouts.
Once the roundabout here on Palmer Street is built, there'll be no right turn onto Cobra Street, with traffic instead redirected into the RAAF depot and onto an intersection with traffic lights.
There'll also be room for recreation. There's plans for walking paths with viewing platforms and interpretive signage to reflect the ecological and cultural heritage of the site.
So as you walk around the park, you'll be able to see signage and other information that tells the story of the Dubbo's contribution to World War II and the RAAF base's contribution to the city of Dubbo.
A contribution it will continue to make for years to come. Emily Wheeler, DRC News.
An $11 million development being built in West Dubbo will create jobs and pave the way for faster download speeds. The company, called Leading Edge Data Centres, plans to build a data centre on a vacant block of land on Janali Road. The centre aims to close the digital divide between Sydney and the regions and ultimately put local business in the same playing field as those in metropolitan areas. Customers will be able to create their own private cloud environment without paying for connectivity to Sydney. A development application has been approved by Council and the data centre is on track to be built this year. The odds of surviving a cardiac arrest improve significantly when good and effective CPR and an automated external defibrillator, or AED, are applied early in an emergency. To help people understand what to do during a cardiac arrest emergency, the Australian Red Cross and Dubbo Regional Council have partnered to deliver a free training program in March that will aim to teach as many people across the region as possible to learn CPR and know how to use an AED.
They are small, come in different colours and can be found in shops, restaurants, pubs, sporting fields and offices across the region and pack a real punch in a cardiac arrest emergency.
Shock delivered. Begin CPR.
It's proven that for every minute you're delaying putting that machine on somebody with a cardiac arrest, their chances of recovery go down between 7 and 10%. So you've got to get them on as quick as you possibly can.
If somebody's unresponsive and unconscious and we feel for a pulse, we can't identify a pulse and that person's not breathing, this is when we'd like people to start initiating CPR. And firstly and foremost, call for an ambulance and then initiate treatment.
And if you need living proof that CPR and an AED work if someone has suffered a cardiac arrest, just ask Greg Page, the original Yellow Wiggle and cardiac arrest survivor.
January 2020 I was doing a show with the Wiggles, got to the end of the show and collapsed with a sudden cardiac arrest caused by a heart attack, but the heart attack didn't have any signs or symptoms, so it just literally dropped me to the floor. So without bystander CPR and without an AED being used rapidly, I probably wouldn't be here today.
With over 150 AEDs located throughout the region, Council is partnering with the Australian Red Cross to establish Learn CPR Saturday. Free lessons on how to use CPR and an AED right here at the Dubbo Regional Theatre and Convention Centre on the 13th of March.
We've put a medical expo together. So you can come along and you can have your blood pressure checked, you can have your eyes checked, you can have your feet, there'll be a podiatrist there. If anybody has anaphylaxis or suffers from allergy, we'll have a nurse from Westmead Children's Hospital there, and for the older fellas there'll be a nurse from the Prostate Council there as well. My message is, get along to this event because you will understand that you don't need to know much to be able to save a life. And saving a life is something that, speaking from experience, my children have a father, my wife has a husband, and I have many, many more days ahead of me.
So now might be that time to get a wiggle on and learn how to perform CPR and how to use an AED. Andrew Parsons, DRC News.
This February, locals are being encouraged to make a date, not only with their Valentine, but with their local Macquarie Regional Library. With a range of warm and fuzzy events across each of the locations, there's certain to be a love story waiting to happen.
Budding young readers spellbound by picture books, exploring other worlds one page at a time.
One night, Ella dreamt of the ocean.
They cuddle up and I can't just read one book, I've got to read more.
With 2 children's books of her own on the shelves of Dubbo Library, local author Felicity Newton believes in fostering a love of literature, no matter what age.
I think it's most important for them to be engaged with reading books at any age really, from 0 upwards.
If a visit to your local library is well overdue, a range of events will be held across Macquarie Regional Libraries this February as part of Love Your Library Month.
I'm reading my second book, When Grandma Comes to Visit, which is really exciting. It's just been released. So I'll be here to do that on the 14th.
And for older readers looking for their perfect match?
We have blind date with a book with a little bit of a twist, so we'd love to see some people in for that special event.
Oh, did you know the fear of running out of something to read is called a bibliophobia? Luckily, there's no chance of that at Dubbo and Wellington libraries, which combined have more than 100,000 books and other print articles for the public to enjoy.
To find out more about Library Lovers Month, visit mrl.nsw.gov.au. Sinead Fogarty, DRC News.
20 years ago, 19 time capsules were buried in Elizabeth Park, and families who buried the capsules were invited to uncover them from the depths of the earth last Friday. The capsules were designed by a group of Year 11 students from South High and Delroy High School in 1999. Dubbed the Millennium Bugs, their contents captures a moment in time in the year 2000.
After 20 years buried in the muddy red dirt of Elizabeth Park, 19 time capsules were pulled from the ground by Dubbo Regional Council staff and members of the community. Peter Heywood and his family were present when the capsules were buried back in January 2000.
The whole family was here. We all enjoyed putting them in the hole and seeing them covered, and hoped they'd be still okay when we brought them out 20 years later.
Inside there was a floppy disk along with a copy of the day's local paper and a wad of $1 notes.
That was a surprise. They even survived, but they're in good nick. We can go and spend them now.
Mayor of the Dubbo region, Councillor Ben Shields, also had a capsule in the ground, feeling very nostalgic after opening his Millennium Bug to find a letter he wrote to himself, along with some material from his very first election campaign.
Quite a special thing for me because it was my very first job I was sent to do by the then Mayor Jerry Peacock in 1999, and he sent me along to fill in for him because I was a newly elected councillor, being elected just September before that.
The time capsules were designed by Year 11 students from South High and Delroy High in 1999. The time capsules, dubbed Millennium Bugs, were then sold to local groups such as Dubbo Rotary, Dubbo City Times and families from the area.
The community of Dubbo continues to keep on keeping on, and this time capsule is all about that.
Some capsules did suffer some water damage after being buried under the ground for so long, but it was a great afternoon where the community recognised how far we've come in 20 years. Kelsey Galea, DRC News.
There was no kidding around at the first goat sale of the year at the Dubbo Regional Livestock Markets. A yarding of more than 500 was on offer on Tuesday with strong restocker support from graziers competing for nannies. A rare offering of several large, mature bush billies fetched $295 a head. Well, not even the rain could put a stop to the Little Athletics Region 3 Championships, which were held at Barton Park. The under 9 to 12 state qualifying round brought 275 kids from around New South Wales to Dubbo for the event. Despite the wet weather, Barton Park was able to accommodate all the events on the day.
Oh look, we're a state-of-the-art facility. We've an international recognition track, and it's really important for us moving forward that we continue to really hone in on what we have and continue to support it locally.
It's estimated that the event brought $400,000 in economic value to the local economy, with hundreds of people staying at local accommodation. Well, lastly, we pay tribute to the state's longest-serving female mayor, Lillian Brady, OAM. The straight-shooting beloved mayor of Cobar Shire Council died peacefully on Sunday, aged 90. Described as an icon of Western New South Wales and a legendary local government figure, Lillian served as the mayor of Cobar for more than 20 years and sat on the local council for more than 40 years. Our condolences to her family and to the community of the Cobar Shire. Well, that's all for DRC News. Don't forget you can reach out to our team with story ideas and suggestions via email or our website. Thanks for joining us.